Everyone around you is constantly reaching for connection, and somewhere inside you, you feel most alive when they're gone. Hi, my name is Lucid, the channel where we decode the psychology behind how your mind actually works. There's a moment many people experience but rarely talk about. It's Sunday afternoon. Your phone has been buzzing all day. You look at all of it and feel nothing. Or worse, a quiet sense of dread. Not because you hate people, but because what you truly want is to close the curtains, make something warm to drink, and disappear into your own mind. Then comes the second feeling. Should I feel guilty about this? Because somewhere along the way, the world decided that the healthiest human is a social one. Extroverted, available, constantly engaged. So when you sit alone, genuinely content, there's often a small voice whispering, "Something must be wrong with you." This video is about that voice. And why it's lying, because enjoying solitude is not the same as loneliness for a very specific kind of person. Being alone isn't the absence of something, it's the presence of everything they actually need. And that distinction changes everything. Act 2, who these people really are. Imagine someone. Maya, she has friends, she's warm, engaging, socially capable. No one in a party would call her lonely. But what nobody sees is the drive home, that deep exhale. The tension slowly leaving her shoulders. She steps inside her apartment, takes off her shoes, and stands in silence. And that moment, that unobserved, empty moment, feels like drinking water after hours of thirst. This isn't a flaw. It's a nervous system difference. Researcher Elaine Aron found that roughly 15 to 20% of people process sensory information far more deeply. More stimuli, more interpretation, more internal data. For these individuals, socializing isn't just interacting. It's processing. Tone of voice, body language, emotional undercurrents. The world doesn't feel louder. It feels denser, and eventually, the only way to reset is to step away from the signal entirely for them. Solitude isn't withdrawal, it's recovery. But not everyone who loves solitude is highly sensitive. Some people simply possess a rich internal world. Psychologists sometimes describe this as an autotelic experience, the ability to generate meaning and reward from within. These individuals don't depend on constant external stimulation. Their inner life is already full, and that kind of internal richness is something many people never develop because they never sit still long enough to discover it. Act 3, the dopamine gap. The modern world is almost perfectly designed to destroy your ability to be alone. Notifications, scrolling, endless stimulation. We've been conditioned to believe that external input is always more valuable than internal stillness. So ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly alone? No phone, no background noise, no distractions, just you and your mind. How long before you reached for something? For most people, the answer is seconds. But that discomfort with silence isn't proof that you need constant connection. It's proof that you've been trained to fear stillness. There's a concept in psychology called interoception, your ability to sense what's happening inside you. Your emotions, your needs, your internal state. People who are comfortable being alone often have unusually high interoceptive awareness. They've spent enough time in silence to actually know what they feel. They no longer confuse discomfort with solitude for loneliness. And when you can make that distinction, solitude stops feeling like exile. It starts feeling like clarity. Act 4, the hidden complexity, but this is where things become more nuanced, because there are two very different versions of solitude. One is healthy, nourishing, grounded in self-understanding. The other is protective. Imagine someone, Daniel. He works remotely, lives quietly, tells himself he prefers being alone. And maybe he does. But sometimes, beneath that preference is something deeper. An old memory. A younger self that learned closeness was risky. That being known meant being heard. This is what psychology calls avoidant attachment. A defense system so sophisticated it feels like personality. It sounds like independence. But it isn't freedom. It's armor. The key difference comes down to one question when you're alone. Do you feel peaceful, or do you simply feel safe? Peace and safety are not the same thing. Peace is the absence of conflict. Safety is the absence of threat. Healthy solitude feels expansive. Defended solitude feels protective, and understanding that difference may be one of the most important acts of self-awareness. At 5, what solitude does to the brain when people enter genuine periods of unstructured solitude. The brain doesn't go quiet. It becomes active. What's known as the default mode network lights up, the system associated with self-reflection. Creativity. An identity integration, your brain begins processing experiences, synthesizing emotions, finding patterns in your life. Solitude is where the mind organizes itself, where insight emerges, where unresolved thoughts finally have space to breathe. This is why so many writers, thinkers, and creators have described solitude not as deprivation, but as source material. Because the hardest listening we ever do is listening to ourselves. And that kind of listening requires stillness. At 6, the identity reframes. So if you've always felt quietly strange for wanting less social noise than the world expects, understand this: you are not broken. You are not antisocial. Your need for solitude is not a flaw. What matters is not how much time you spend alone. What matters is who you are when you're there. Are you present? Are you honest? Are you choosing solitude or hiding inside it? Because solitude itself is neutral. It's simply a container. And what it holds depends entirely on what you bring into it. The healthiest form of solitude belongs to someone who has made peace with their own mind. Someone who doesn't require constant validation to feel real. Someone who can choose connection, not from hunger, but from wholeness. Closing, the awakening, there is something quietly radical about a person who doesn't need noise to feel alive. In a world built on distraction, the ability to sit with yourself and feel complete is a rare form of freedom. Not freedom from loneliness, but freedom from the belief that silence is something to escape. Because the version of you that exists when no one is watching, when nothing is demanding your attention, when the room is quiet, that version is not your hidden self. Is your most honest self. And maybe the most important thing you can do is simply give that self a little more room to breathe. Call to action if something in this video shifted the way you see your own solitude. Leave your thoughts in the comments. You may discover you're not as alone in that feeling as you thought. And if Lucid feels like a place your mind wants to return to, stay with us, there's always more. Worth understanding.